I'm Emma Henry, and I am 16 years old, and I go to Hastings High School. I'm in 11th grade, and I'm from Wichita, Kansas. I've lived in Nebraska, of course, Kansas, like I said, Louisiana, Texas, Alaska, North Carolina. I've lived in many places in Kansas, though, and some places in Nebraska.
I'm Leandre Alexander. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. I'm 17 years old, and I go to HHS. I've lived in Oklahoma, Nebraska. Oklahoma, Texas, and Nebraska, that's all for me. I've lived in many cities, though.
Living in small towns and going to small white schools, obviously there's way more white people in small towns normally than there are black people, or any other race for that matter. So a lot of the time, people only are friends with you because of the color of your skin, to get the ability to say the N-word. I don't know. I've noticed that a lot since I've lived in Hastings. People will say that they have friends that are black or something like that just to get away with saying the N-word or something like that. They use it as I don't know, the N-word card. That's what they say too. They're like, my black friend, whoever it would be.
Or my
said,
sister-in-law's cousin
right,
is black.
Right, and they'll be like, well, they said I could say it, but,
But did we?
Yeah. In bigger cities, Hispanics hang out more with each other, and black people hang out with each other, and Caucasian people hang out with each other. So when you try to make friends outside of the race, it's almost, what's the word I'm looking for?
Hard.
Well, it is harder. It's much harder because, especially for somebody that's of mixed race, and people telling you that you're not black enough, you're not white enough, I never knew where to hang out. I didn't know if I was supposed to hang out with black kids or white kids or anybody in between. White people are proper. They use the right grammar, everything like that. And then black people, they're ghetto. They're from the hood. They're not proper at all. That's the stereotype. And so if I use proper grammar, I'm acting white. Or if I don't use proper grammar or something like that, I'm more black or something. Or if I have my hair straightened, I look more white or Hispanic rather than black. But if my hair is curly, they obviously know I'm black, but it's just, everything is based on stereotypes of black people and black culture. Because I don't really understand how people are gonna say, well, you don't talk like a black person. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Or you don't act black, some people will say when they meet you, or anything like that.
Or even you don't look black. I don't know, that one really gets to me. I feel like black people come in all colors, everything. And when somebody says you don't look black, it's just taking away our culture in a way. That's how I feel about it. But so when she's at her school and when she's at in her town or city or where is it, community, it's lighter and more home feeling when she's in her community with her people. But then when she goes to her school, it's the color changes, the mood changes, everything does. And I think that's which this might just be an opinion, I don't know, but it just feels like I'm trying to think, I'm sorry.
More caring?
No, it's more when you are not around the people that are like you know what I mean? It's different. It's more comfortable when you are with the people who you come from. If you're a black person, why would, not to be rude, but why would you want to be around all white people? You can't relate to them. And it's not even that. I have friends that are white. Like, obviously, I would never, like, say that it's terrible to be around white people. My thing is, like, it's just you don't have anybody from your community. You don't have anybody to relate to. You don't have anybody who looks like you. And nobody who knows what you're going through. Because being a white person in America is the complete opposite of being a black person in America.
Yeah, that, like, just thinking about that made me think about just being raised biracial. The stuff that, I had to go through, and the stuff that I've learned from a young age that my grandma's told me. And being biracial isn't a new thing for my family. My grandma had a biracial kid, my aunt. She's firstborn. We had to get taught certain things, like, oh, some people won't accept you, Leandre, but that's okay because we love you. We love you. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And you're told that at a young age. And I really didn't think nothing of it until I got older, and then I thought about it, and I was like, that's sad because I love everybody. It doesn't matter what their skin color is. I love them for who they are and what they do. And if I don't like you, it's for a reason, not because of your skin color. It just upsets it upsets me that people can judge someone by their color.
Like he said, black people are expected to accept everybody else. Just like Hispanic people are expected to accept everybody else. But white people are allowed to have opinions about who they want to accept, what color, what their sexuality is, who they are as a person. They can't accept them because of that, but we have to accept any race. Which of course I do, because racism is just, it's just stupid.
It's just on the same as Emma said about what you give about community and school life. Just like that, when I'd go to school and going home, it'd be different. Because I had to act a certain way at school than I would at home with the people that know me and accept me for who I am. So I had to act different at school, and I noticed that with her, and I was like, oh, that's, what's the word? Relatable. It's pretty relatable.
Yeah. Living here, I've had to change the way I act, like, completely. I swear I sounded like so different 3 years ago. And I don't know, being around people, obviously, like, if they talk a certain way, you're going to talk a certain way, you know what I mean? But it's not even about that. I've had to hide my disappointment in words that people say, because not only have I heard nigga, but I've heard the other one too, which just hurts me. But, and it's not even that. It's like people really love to say racist things and pretend you don't hear them. And they're like, well, it's just one black person, you know, what are they gonna do? But I just feel like if they're your friend, especially, they will expect you to be okay with them saying racist things. And when you're around your people, what you're talking about Black Lives Matter, you're talking about white privilege, things like that. But when I went to Hastings High School, it's such like a whitewashed school. They want to say America has been perfect throughout history. We've never done anything bad, even when we were killing off Native Americans. They weren't killing them off, you know. That's not what we were doing, apparently, you know. It was
trying to find a new home for,
yeah, you know, we were just trying to be free. But
just as we tried and were pushed back.
Right. I don't know, it's just so whitewashed, and it's like scary how many white people won't know history of black people because of the schools. And it's sad that, you know, it's not going to change unless if we really, really, really try, because to be honest, it never should have been like this ever. Even when they were enslaving people, that never should have happened. It does not matter. Oh my God, that person looks different. No. There should be no reason for racism. That's like saying, oh, that dog looks different from that dog. We're going to enslave that one, but that one looks cute. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, no. It does not matter how back in the day it was. It does not matter if you are the oldest, whitest Republican in the entire world. Just stop racism. Because Black Lives Matter is not because we're trying to be higher up than you guys. It's because we are trying to be equal. It's been hundreds of years we have not gotten to be equal. Why can't we now, after hundreds and hundreds of years, finally live like you guys? That's the only thing we want.
It's our time.
I did the rally because I really just wanted to show people that in small towns there's still racism. It's not just in bigger cities, in bigger places, in bigger states. It's everywhere. You face racism no matter where you go. You can be living in the smallest town in the world and there still can be racism. Or you can live in the biggest city in the world and of course there's going to be racism. And I just wanted to make people more aware of that because it's important. Because of course, white people, they don't experience what we experience when it comes to racism. And they don't experience what we go through with cops, you know, law enforcement in general. So it's very important to educate people. And I think I did the first one because my mom came to me and she asked me how important it was to me and everything like that. And she told me that she wanted to do a protest. And of course, she knew that I was the most educated of her kids in Black Lives Matter because I'm always talking about it 24/7, I swear. And she came to me and she was like, you should help me do this. And I was like, of course, like I've been wanting to, but I didn't know if, my mom's Black, but I didn't know if she would want to do it because there's a lot of like, Judgment, yeah. There's a lot of judgment that comes with doing those things, especially in smaller towns. And of course, there still is in bigger places, but there are also more people to back you up with that because there's more diversity there. So there's more people that are willing to support you. And when you live in a small, mainly white town, obviously a lot of more people don't support Black Lives Matter, and a lot more people support Blue Lives Matter and All Lives Matter above that.
How does that feel?
I just think that those people, not to be disrespectful in any way, but I feel like people who say Blue Lives Matter and All Lives Matter are uneducated in colored communities. Not only Black people are suffering with racism.
Well, I recently had to leave my church. I didn't have to, but I chose to because of all this stuff that's happening. Some of the people in my church didn't respond well to my post about Black Lives Matter, all this, and just terrorism and all that, and they're just trying to be violent and riot and all that. And I just had to leave. I didn't feel comfortable anymore because if I'm going to be around you, I want you to accept what I support. I mean, you don't have to support it as well, but show me that you're not going to offend me.
And I didn't leave a church or anything, but I know that I've lost many friends.
Oh, yeah.
Not just like on social media, but like in person. Because I don't want to associate with myself with people who don't see where I'm coming from, because I don't think it's an opinion. It's not an opinion. This is human rights. Black Lives Matter should never be an opinion. It should always be, yes, they do matter. And I feel as if like, if people are saying all lives matter, why would they get so mad about people saying Black Lives Matter? And why would they get mad about saying like ICE is not doing the right thing, you know, like, or I don't know. I lost a couple people because I don't feel it's right to parade around saying Blue Lives Matter, knowing that that is a uniform. We can't take off our skin color.
It's a choice to be a cop.
It's a choice. And one thing that I don't know, this just gets to me. It's that normal pedestrians that are of color are not allowed to act on impulse, and if they do, they can get killed. But a cop who is trained, they're allowed to act on impulse.
Yeah.
That they were trained. That is their job. They shouldn't get to kill people because they're scared of their life. They took that oath to
Protect and serve.
protect and serve, exactly. They took that oath to put pedestrians and people over themselves. Just like our presidents, you know, like the fact that they are scared because we have melanin or darker skin complexion is bullshit. I'm sorry, it just is. I'm Emma Henry, and I am 16 years old, and I go to Hastings High School. I'm in 11th grade, and I'm from Wichita, Kansas. I've lived in Nebraska, of course, Kansas, like I said, Louisiana, Texas, Alaska, North Carolina. I've lived in like many places in Kansas, though, and some places in Nebraska.
I'm Leandre Alexander. I'm from Fort Worth, Texas. I'm 17 years old, and I go to HHS. I've lived in Oklahoma, Nebraska. Oklahoma, Texas, and Nebraska, that's all for me. I've lived in many cities, though. The other day, me and Emma were in the Dollar Tree, and we're just walking around, and we notice one of the employees following us around, and I turned around, and he would just look away or pretend like he's doing something, and I was just thinking in my head, why would I steal from a damn Dollar Tree? Everything's $1. Why? It's just little things like that. I mean, and it makes me mad, and then it makes me laugh a little bit in my head. Just like, why would I steal from a Dollar Tree? Everything's $1.
Like a week later, me and my mom were in this store, and there was another couple of like black people right next to us, and we were in self-checkout, and the guy, we were like right here, the other people were right here. The guy stood in the middle of us, even though the entire self-checkout was filled. He stood in between like the two group of black people, you know what I mean? And he was just staring at us until we were all done ringing up our stuff and paid. And I looked over, sorry, there was a fuzz. I looked over and there was somebody actually stealing. And I just thought to myself, how are you gonna miss somebody actually stealing because you are stereotyping somebody? We had the money to pay, we paid. We were at Walmart, we were in self-checkout because we barely got anything. The other people, they were in self-checkout probably for the same reason. And the fact that somebody was actually stealing just to the next checkout station, like right over me, you guys, they didn't notice that because they were too busy looking at black people. That is just so wrong to me. Actually, recently I just got my driver's license, and I was driving at nighttime and my turning signals didn't work. And I don't know, they pulled me over, which was for a normal reason, but this wasn't really on them, this was on me, but I just got so scared because, I don't know, it's just, obviously black people are taught at a young age to basically fear the police because the police officers fear them. So just a ton of fear comes with that.
Police? Well, I mean, I don't like the cops that much. When I hear something about like, oh, the cops are coming, I freak out, anything. I mean, not if I'm doing anything wrong. I mean, I still freak out even though if I'm doing nothing wrong or anything, I still freak out because I don't know what's going to happen. Anything could happen. I could be the next victim, sibling, anybody, my friends. So yeah, I mean, I really don't like police officers, and I know it's bad to say, but I'll run. because I don't want to be around that situation. It gives me a lot of anxiety.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, like if
It's not like I'm trying to escape from crime, but
whether or not I'm doing something wrong or like it doesn't really matter. I'll still try to get out of like the place if I know that the cops are coming, because here, of course, there aren't a lot of black people, so usually the people I'm hanging out with are white, so they're not going to be targeted when the cops come. And I just have a feeling that if I were there and all of my white friends were there too, I don't know, they would definitely come up to me first.
me and Emma were talking the other day, and we're talking about police officers and being prosecuted and stuff. And she mentioned that she believes that they should be charged even more because they were trained to do this, and they're trained how to use their gun and when to use it, what situation.
And they're not supposed to shoot to kill. They're supposed to shoot to disarm. They're supposed to shoot to, I don't know, save other people. They're not supposed to shoot because we are black. They're not supposed to shoot because they don't like our music. They're not supposed to shoot because we grab something out of our car. Because I've watched many videos of, I don't know, I've heard stories, I've watched videos of white people getting something out of the car and in front of a cop and not being scared. Or I know my sister Sabrina, who's white because she is adopted, but I know that she told me after I told her that I was pulled over that she usually just grabs her stuff and is fine. And the cop doesn't cop really an attitude to her. It's just normal. It's normal to get pulled over.
I noticed that, and last night we were actually cruising, and this man, he got pulled over. It was a white gentleman. He got pulled over, and the cop was walking up, and the man just gets out of his car, walks up to the cop. And I thought about it, and I was like, that is unique. There's been many situations where we're just grabbing something, but he got out of the car. He could have had a knife, could have had a gun, anything. But it's just ridiculous. I mean,
The double standard.
When I was about, I would say, 10, my mom just ran into a ton of cops. And we were living in a small town called Chetopa. And they were not very nice to her. They did not do legal things. And on our way to Wichita, Kansas, because we were moving back because just what they were doing was not good, and it hadn't started that day. It had been going on for months and months and months. But she was just telling me that you can't do this around a cop. If you do, you could get hurt. You can't go to small towns and expect everybody to accept who you are as a colored person. And you can't expect cops to be nice to you because they're not going to be.
when I was about 8 or 9, my mom talked to me about police and stuff and how they treat certain people. My talk wasn't, I would say, as helpful because my mom was born white and she really didn't experience it for herself because of her color. She just said you have to be still around police officers, Leandra, just good. And even when I was younger, after that talk and stuff, well, before the talk, I didn't like police officers because I see the way they would treat family members that I had that are African American, and I'd hide in the car, if we ever got pulled over or anything, I'd hide in the car. I mean, I'd be buckled up, but I'd try to hide and anything because I wanted to avoid them. I was just scared, and I didn't know what would happen. I mean, at that time, I didn't really hear many things about cops killing African Americans. Yeah, I didn't know too much. I was just a young kid, really young. I mean, probably kindergarten. I really didn't know about that stuff, but I was still scared because I knew that you had to act a certain way around cops and stuff, and that's it.
You had some family members roughed up?
Yeah. I mean, my aunt, she's been yanked by cops. They'll grab her if she's like not trying to talk to them or anything, or she'll try to walk away. I mean, I've seen a situation like that. I've seen an officer just grab her and yank her and anything like that. And that would scare me when I was younger, seeing people get arrested. I'd cry. They don't understand. We're taught in school, sorry.
No, go ahead.
We're taught in school that, oh, like, you know, when you're younger, police officers will come to your school or firefighters and they show you how good they are and all this, and you think, oh, everything's going to be all right, until you see it for yourself on how they do their job.
And when they say they're going to protect, they mean they're going to protect people who they think they should protect. Like, I'm not saying all cops are racist, and I'm not saying all cops are terrible people. I'm just saying all cops need to learn from the mistakes of every other cop who has done those things, because I know for a fact that not only white cops are treating black people differently, I know that black cops are too, because it's basically taught in training. It's taught that if they have their music up too loud, and if they are even going like 2 miles over the speed limit, you need to pull them over and basically just be as disrespectful as possible. Show them who is higher up in life than they are, you know what I mean? Like, and I mean, I've also witnessed like a lot of police brutality towards family members, mainly my mom. I remember this one girl, lady, my mom's age, was calling her the N-word and other like hateful things, and this lady like tried to beat up my mom or something, and the cop elbowed her. When they got her there, they were trying to get my mom off the lady because there's a self-defense law in Wichita, and my mom kind of did fight her because she was like, she came up to her and, you know, and I just remember, because I was there, it was one of my friend's moms who did it, and I just remember like my mom wrote down her statement, and my mom was asking the cop a question, and the cop elbowed her in the face and left a bump here, a big goose egg, I mean big, and like pushed her over, and then pushed my sister Destiny into a trailer, trying to get, like, I don't know, trying to get her out of the way. And then my other friend's mom, she was recording the cops, because they were already, like, when they got there, they were mainly just talking to the brown people, black people who were there. They didn't even try to question anybody else. So they recorded it, and the cops yelled at her, and they told her that if they didn't stop recording, they were going to get arrested. And my friend's mom was like, that's not how it works. Like, no, I'm allowed to record. It's like legal, you know. And they tried to tackle her to get the phone out of her hand. So I don't know. And then that same day, everything was still happening, and my mom was in the cop car writing down her statement, writing down that the cop elbowed her in the face and stuff like that. And he ripped up the statement. He ripped it up and threw it on the ground. And then my mom ended up like getting a court date for that, obviously, but they, like, what's the word? They didn't charge her with any of it, because the judge was also an African American woman, and she ended up writing another statement and like realized that's not legal. Like, our cops can get in trouble, especially since it's on recording, you know. So I guess charges weren't pressed. But that day, I just learned that not only like white officers do those type of things. I remember there was a Hispanic officer there and a black officer there. They weren't the one that elbowed her in the face, but they also didn't do anything to stop it. They didn't tell him, no, you can't do that, you know. They let it happen, just like in George Floyd's death. Although those cops weren't the ones kneeling on his neck. They were basically letting him die. They knew that what the officer was doing was wrong, and they just watched. And a couple of them were like I don't know, cracking jokes. That's what I heard off of a report, but I was too scared to watch the video. I didn't want to. I couldn't.
That reminds me of a time. There was a situation. I don't want to go too much into detail, but I lived in a small apartment in Kearney. It's about 2 years ago that this happened. And I was out with my friend. He was a white male. And I came back and I seen that there was cops in the apartment. And they were at my apartment. And my step-siblings were there, and my sister, well, step-siblings at the time, they were there, and I lived there, and I was trying to get in, and I was talking to the cop, and he was just yelling at me, yelling in my face. Then my white friend would talk to him, and he'd be like, "Sir, blah, blah, this and that." And I just tried to walk into the house and stuff, and the cop pushed me down to the ground. And my white friend, he reported that to the police station. And they told him that the cop would have to apologize to me. I never got the apology or anything. But that day, it just made me really sad. Like, after that, I thought about everything, and I'm not the only one that goes through this. And it could have been way worse.
I just think that the fact that they made him apologize, or they told him to apologize, is messed up. Yes, it would have been okay to get an apology, but just the fact that that's it. Like, that's a reason to get suspended from, like, your job without paid leave. I mean, obviously there's worse things that they could do, but either way, that's terrible. And again, with George Floyd's death, the fact that in the beginning they were just suspended with paid leave, that's what should have happened with what happened to him. What happened with George Floyd, they should have went to prison right away.